Welcome back to the D4 channel, and today we'll be doing a spoiler review on The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 3. So if you haven't seen Episode 3 of Season 3 of The Mandalorian, leave now because this is a spoiler review.
I just wanted to help. She set me up. Please. You set me up.
Now we start with Episode 3 with Bo-Katan just sitting there probably fathoming, oh my god, this dragon exists, and maybe she might have plans for it later on. We do not know, because again, one thing that's brilliant about this show is a lot of them keep their helmets on for the longest time, so we, the audience, kind of project our own like thoughts and facial expressions onto them. But I'm pretty sure she's thinking about, I don't have the Darksaber anymore, but if I can tame this Mythosaur dragon, maybe the Mandalorians might follow me again. And I wouldn't even know how you would go about taming something so big and ferocious, I'm assuming, but that's going to be very cool to see. But, Din Djarin is redeemed. Bo-Katan says, alright, cool. So they dip from Mandalore, and they get attacked by these TIE interceptors. And I've been seeing a lot of reviews, and a lot of people are linking these TIE interceptors to Thrawn. Now we know that the Imperials are still around in the galaxy. They're remnants all scattered all across the galaxy, but we haven't really seen them too organized. Besides Moff Gideon, really, most of them have kind of been beaten down. Offshoots of what the Empire used to be, but a lot of people are saying these TIE interceptors are more organized, and they even make a comment in the show saying there's more than what a warlord would have. So I'm going to assume these interceptors are from Thrawn's, or one of Thrawn's many bases or lieutenants, which I know we're going to build up to that because Ahsoka and the Skeleton Crew and all the other shows and the Mandalorian are going to all basically coalesce into this big kind of Avengers level type of combination of all the shows. But it was very cool to see the dogfight on Bo-Katan's planet. Again, the dogfighting in this show have been fantastic. Like, we obviously got the one with him and the pirates in the first one, and then to see him in this modified Naboo fighter, it is just so cool to see. And of course they canceled Patty Jenkins' Squadrons movie, but if you base a whole Star Wars movie kind of around like what Top Gun Maverick did, but in Star Wars, I think that would be very cool, because the dogfighting looks very dope in this show, like them going through the mountains and everything. Again, I love that R5D4 is just like a big scaredy cat on this ship, but I thought it was just done so well. The production value on this show is premium. Like, I am so glad this show is back, because this show is what we've been missing for Star Wars live action. I'm sorry, but they fly. They beat a good bit of the TIE fighters, and then of course, to make Bo-Katan's day even worse, they bomb her castle. She is not having a good time with it. She lost the saber. She tried to get it back with Moff Gideon. Din Djarin got it. All her people left her because she doesn't have the dark saber. She just chilling here on her planet. Wants to be left alone. Has to go rescue Din from the waters, and now her home is bombed. I feel so bad for her, but Din is like, you can't go after them because there's way too many of them. They're way too organized, so they peel off and they leave. And now we go to our great city planet, Coruscant, and it is so awesome to see Coruscant again, particularly the theater where Anakin and Palpatine were discussing the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise. That same theater they go back to, and again, for a prequel fan like myself, and for many of you out there, it just brought me back, and it looks so good. And I'm loving how the Mandalorian is not shying away from anything prequel era related. and we go to Coruscant, all its glory, and we go to the theater with Dr. Pershing basically giving a whole speech, basically telling them, I'm sorry for what I've done with the Empire, but my research is still important. He's trying to clone. His mother died of, I think, some kind of organ failure, and he's trying to help clone certain species or sentient creatures to create new organs to avoid needless death, such as his mother. And of course, the Republic, or I should say the New Republic, they hear cloning and they immediately get PTSD. They're like, we're not going through that cloning again. We're not doing any of that nonsense. And they disregard everything that this man is saying. Now, of course, he was a former Imperial, but he's not one of the bad ones. He's actually a very good-hearted person. I think he was just with the Imperials to do very important research. He even says as much later on in the episodes. Like, he says, like, I get it, but my research could very benefit the New Republic. Like, it could benefit everyone. In the right hands, this can be a good thing. And it's kind of like philosophy with the dark side. The Force is not good or bad. It's who and how you use it that makes it good or bad. But he gives that whole speech, and I love to see this scene. A lot of people are saying this scene is kind of like the Mandalorian, but the reason why I give Star Wars vibes is because unlike unlike Andor, this show embraces its creatures and its aliens and its droids and all of it. It whisks you away. So that scene could have been straight from Andor, but because they added all that kind of, I would say, George Lucas, Dave Filoni prequel type feel to it, that Star Wars type feel to it, it feels so much more like Star Wars, and I love to see that. And I love to see, like, Dr. Pershing, he's just kind of going through it. All the Imperials, it seems that they are all part of this amnesty program. Now, I haven't read the Aftermath trilogy books. I think they explain a lot about how the New Republic deals with the former Imperials who want to reform or who are captured, and they're trying to reintegrate them back into society. So to see a few Imperials just kind of like chatting in like this apartment complex is pretty cool. And then we get the woman that was with Moff Gideon. She's there as well, and Dr. Pershing immediately remembers her. And I was like, the whole episode, I was like, I don't trust her, because she seems like one of those Imperial zealots that is for the Empire until she dies. But something about this episode did so many things with my hope, where I'm like, I really hope that she legitimately, wants to do good and wants to be Dr. Pershing's friend. As we've seen during the end of the episode, that is not the case, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, so I love how they also mentioned how Moff Gideon escaped his journey to the Republic Tribunal. Now, whether that's just hearsay rumor of Imperials just talking amongst each other, or he actually did escape, which, to be honest, I think that is a very heavy possibility for him to rejoin Thrawn or be part of Thrawn's group. I think that's a possibility. When you hire someone like Giancarlo Esposito, you do not get rid of him very easily. But they say he escaped, so that's what we left on. And then, of course, Dr. Pershing gets he gets a little snacks from forgive me, I don't remember her name. I wish I did, but the woman gave him Imperial snacks. And one thing the sequel trilogy kind of glossed over it, and one thing Mandalorian and many stories can do between Return of the Jedi and Episode 7 is kind of explain the state of the galaxy up until Episode 7 to why the First Order has so much hold on the galaxy, when clearly Luke, Leia, Mon Mothma, those guys, they fought for their freedom, they won, they reformed the Republic, but we're seeing why, or we're getting little hints on why the hell the galaxy turned out the way it did, like 30 years later, because the New Republic, particularly Mon Mothma and all the people below her, they are very optimistic in a bad way, and they are very driven by their PTSD, because we hear that they decommissioned the Rebellion Alliance fleet, which is ridiculous. Like, you're in a galaxy where constant trouble is happening, war is still going on little systems, conflict is still arising, and you're a new government. You need to have a show of power to keep your peace, and they're decommissioning the rebellion fleet. And I'm like, what are you doing? Everything Imperial, they're basically discarding. Even the damn cookies, they're getting rid of them. And they make a point throughout this episode. It's like, the technology is bad. Just because it was Imperial in nature doesn't mean you can't use it for the New Republic's good goals. So anything that has the Imperial signature, they're just tossing away, which I find ridiculous. Like, Dr. Pershing even said, you could still use this stuff. This is still good equipment. And they're like, nope, it's Imperial, none of that. And I find that absolutely ridiculous. And it kind of, explains to me a lot about why the New Republic really doesn't have much power by the time of the episode Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. So, that's ridiculous. But they go to this park, the same kind of square where we seen in the Clone Wars, particularly when Obi-Wan and Satine were going through this square when she was being attacked by Death Watch. And again, I just love to see Coruscant in the background, all the people just walking around, all the aliens. And to see Dr. Pershing and the Imperial Lady really go through, like, what I would think is a bonding moment. They're eating some kind of weird space ice cream popsicle thing. I don't know what it is, but it looks weird and delicious, and I want some. And I really want Galaxy Edge to look something like this. That'd be so cool. But I'm losing myself in this. But anyways, so yeah, they're just kind of hanging out. She's teasing him. He tries to touch the one nature reserve Coruscant had, and then the little droid robot cop says, no, you can't touch that. And another thing in this episode that also bugged me, that the New Republic again could have changed. They give everybody, it seems, or at least the former Imperials, this dead droid, this dead therapy droid. And it's not even like one of the sentient ones, like, how C-3PO is very sentient, or R2, or a Chopper, or any of those sentient droids that can actually like give you proper feedback on whatever's happening. They give them the most dead droid for their therapy, and they could just lie. They could be having a bad day. They could be hating the New Republic, but they could just lie and say, "Yeah, I'm not mad." The droid be like, "Okay, you passed. Get out." It's like, what are you doing, guys? Like, again, watching Andor and to see how hard Mos Mothma has to struggle, and eventually how she got into becoming basically the supreme chancellor, how hard people like Leia fought. To see them kind of squander it is like, guys, what are you doing? They don't even name the former Imperials. They give them numbers like the clones. They don't even call them by their names. And I'm like, why are you doing this? This is how no one in the Outer Rim respects you, and this is how the First Order really just gets to stamp their foothold in the galaxy, because you guys are just fumbling the bag. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I love to see Dr. Pershing. He's just going through it. Like, he starts off pretty much, content with what happened. He likes being here. He likes being on the good side. And then he slowly, over the course of the episode, he wants to do his research, because his research is going to benefit the entire galaxy. He's not trying to clone an army. And again, I don't know why the Republic does not have an army, because they remember the reason why they needed the clones in the first place is because they did not have an army. And that was understood because before that, they weren't in war for 1,000 years. So that's understandable. But you just defeated a totalitarian government, and you need the backbone to secure your peace. And they hear cloning from this guy. He's not trying to clone an army. He's not trying to clone multiple people. He's just trying to clone organs, or at least as far as I can tell. He just wants to do his damn research, but no one will let him because he's a former Imperial, and they don't like anything to do with anything with cloning. And he's trying to find a way to do it. And again, she was in Ant-Man Quantumania, but the Imperial Lady, she is so good at playing his friend and kind of preying on his, not insecurities, but his desires to create his research, and she's slowly trying to get him to kind of break these little rules to see if she could push him into doing something Jurassic, like go to the decommissioned Star Destroyers on Coruscant to see if he could get like a little medical facility to start his research. And to see them on the train gave me a little bit of like the Ahsoka Running Away vibes type of thing. And eventually when they leave the train and they fall on this, this had to be planned, but they luckily fall on this like safe, cushiony platform, and then they walk into the scrapped Imperial Star Destroyer. He is just excited because he finally gets to do his research. He finally gets to show the New Republic what I am doing can benefit all of our citizens, and it is true. But of course, it was a trap. She led him in there to get caught by the New Republic goons, I'm going to call them. And he gets whisked away into this facility where this Mon Calamari says, we're going to hook you up to this like device. And he's like, that's a mind flare. He's like, no, it's a similar device. He's like, that is a mind flare. You're going to delete my brain. And they're like, no, it's like a rehabilitation type of thing for Imperial soldiers. And they put it on the lowest setting, and he's so I feel so bad for Dr. Person. He literally thought he was making a friend. He's like, you set me up, all of that. He's so mad right now. And one thing I don't get about New Republic, you leave the girl in the room unattended, and she switches the dial from like mild to torturous, which I'm assuming is wiping Dr. Percy's memory, which is such a waste because he seems to be a brilliant man. And I'm going to assume she's still working for Moff Gideon, and he knows too much, so she's wiping his brain or making him a vegetable. So I was like, oh my god, why would you leave her in the room alone with the device? What are you guys, like, the New Republic? I'm sorry, but y'all dropped the bag. Y'all deserve the First Order, because that is absolutely unacceptable. But now we jump to the Mandalorian and Bo-Katan. They leave Bo-Katan's planet. Poor Bo-Katan, her house just got bombed, and now they meet the covert, the Children of the Watch, and Mando's like, you know what? I've redeemed myself. And they're like, yeah, I don't believe you. And he's like, I got proof. And I remember when me and Daniel were watching the episode, I'm like, what? I mean, how are you gonna? It's water. Like, how you could have took the water from anywhere in the galaxy and just say, yeah, I redeemed myself. But of course, the armor drops the water that he brung into this pool, and it glows, sparkles, does all that jazz. And she's like, oh shit, you did redeem yourself. I'm like, wow, okay, so that water, I don't know what properties that water has, but it's clearly different. Also, rewatching episode 1, she does that same type of thing, which I think she had the Waters of Mandalore already in episode 1 before she gave that child the helmet. So I was like, I don't know if I fully trust the armorer yet. I can't read her. And of course, they all have their helmets on, but they most seem to be like, just zealous. But the armor in particular, I don't know what her game is. But he gives her the water, she dips it, she's like, all right, you are redeemed. And she says, you are redeemed. And then, surprisingly, they told Bo-Katan to recite the creed and everything like that. And she becomes a child of the Watch. And that was something I did not expect. She's like, you will not remove your helmet. You are one of us. And they're like, way to go. And I'm like, what the heck? And it seems to be like, poor Bo-Katan, she's at her lowest right now. She looks like she just accepts this. She's like, you know what? I'm going to take the creed. I'm going to be part of this crazy religion now. And I'm just going to be here for a moment because I have nowhere else to go. All my people left me. And Bo-Katan is really going through it right now. And that's kind of how the episode ends, with Bo-Katan becoming a child of the Watch. So I'm very interested to see if she, one, keeps with the whole program of not removing her helmet, and two, is she secretly plotting to basically get these religious zealots to follow her in her quest to rule Mandalore once again? I don't know if she has any plans on getting a Darksaber again, but maybe she might get the Mythosaur dragon to show them that I am the rightful leader of Mandalore. So I'm very curious to see what the next episode holds. I believe Dave Filoni wrote the episode, and and Carl Weathers directed it. So I'm very curious to see what episode 4 has in store for us. But you let me know what you thought of episode 3 of season 3 in the comments below. Did you like this episode, or did you hate it? Did you think the political stuff was done better in Andor, or did you think they did it just right? You let me know in the comments below. And again, like and subscribe for the D4 channel for our version of Star Wars entertainment. And from me, Hamid, and my counterpart, D, may the Force be with you always.